Hey everyone! The book I'm sharing with you today is called How to Be Yourself, written by the renowned American psychologist Dr. Ellen Hendriksen. She has long been researching social anxiety disorder and is an expert in this field. I believe many people have experienced social anxiety, but if social anxiety develops into a psychological disorder that severely affects one's life, then it's more than just a small problem. So what is social anxiety? Simply put, social anxiety refers to the psychological and behavioral reactions of anxiety, tension, and avoidance that people experience in social situations due to their concerns about others' opinions and evaluations. In this book, the author tells us a story of someone who suffers greatly from social anxiety. His name is Mo Yi. He is a lawyer who often needs to attend various meetings. However, whenever there is a meeting, Mo Yi dare not speak up. Although he really wants to express his opinions, the thought of having to speak publicly makes Mo Yi incredibly anxious and nervous to the point where he can't utter a single word. There was even once when he had written down in advance what he wanted to say on his phone, but when he stood up to read it out loud, he was so nervous that his entire body was shaking, his vision was blurred, and he couldn't read out a single word. This degree of social anxiety has severely affected his work and life, and is considered a social anxiety disorder. So how is social anxiety different from having an introverted personality? Many people often confuse the two. In fact, being introverted and having social anxiety are two completely different things. Introverts who choose to be alone do not necessarily have social anxiety. Introverts can quietly enjoy their alone time without feelings of anxiety or self-denial. On the other hand, people with social anxiety actually crave to fit into groups but choose to avoid crowds because they are afraid of being denied, which makes them feel both painful and contradictory. Therefore, being introverted is just a personality trait, while social anxiety can severely affect one's ability and quality of life. What then is the origin of social anxiety? Why are some people so anxious about socializing? The author points out in the book that the essence of social anxiety is the fear of exposure. People are afraid of revealing certain aspects of themselves in social situations, such as their appearance, personality, social skills, etc., and they worry about receiving negativity from others after exposing these aspects. Why is there such fear? This actually stems from human instincts for survival. In the early evolution of humans, being excluded from the group could mean death. Therefore, the fear of exposure is ingrained in our genes. In modern society, this fear seems somewhat redundant, but it still controls the hearts of many people. Since social anxiety comes from the fear of exposure, how does it exert control? It's through the inner critic system in our brains. The inner critic is like a voice in our minds. It predicts the worst possible outcomes in advance, causing us to actively avoid social situations. For example, if you are suddenly appointed by your boss to give a presentation at the company-wide meeting, the inner critic will shout in your mind, "You must be going to mess it up. Everyone will laugh at you afterward. How embarrassing, you'd better decline the request." It's under the control of the inner critic that we display socially avoiding behaviors. Of course, appropriate levels of social anxiety also have positive effects. From the perspective of human society as a whole, appropriate social anxiety can enhance group cohesion, make people care about and look after each other, and maintain social stability. At the individual level, appropriate anxiety also makes us more responsible and empathetic. Only when anxiety becomes a disorder does it hinder our lives. Since social anxiety can have positive impacts, how should we better deal with our own social anxiety? This leads to the second part of the book, Methods to Cope with Social Anxiety. Firstly, the author mentions that we need to have the right attitude towards ourselves, rather than wanting to completely change ourselves. Many people want to eliminate social anxiety entirely, but that is unrealistic. What we need to do is find positive ways to view ourselves and accept our imperfections. Secondly, we need to change our mindset and not demand perfection from ourselves in everything. Perfectionism is what makes us more anxious in the first place. When you accept that you can have flaws, it actually reduces anxiety and leads to better social effects. Additionally, correct the inner critic through self-dialogue. You can imagine a positive voice in your mind, using clear concepts to replace those vague social fears. You can also give yourself a supportive environment for self-encouragement and self-sympathy. Moreover, action comes before rationality. There is no need to wait until you are 100% prepared to boldly try. By taking action to accumulate experience and self-confidence, anxiety can be truly resolved. You can also give yourself a positive role to play, taking on challenges by acting out that role. Finally, obtain more positive experiences through repeated practice. Set up a challenge list and tackle them one by one. In this process, apply the aforementioned mindset adjustment methods, slowly build up experience and confidence, and eventually triumph over anxiety. The author hopes that through this book, he can help everyone find their most authentic and comfortable selves while coping with social anxiety. I believe that by applying the methods in this book, we can all learn to coexist peacefully with anxiety and truly be our most relaxed selves. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.